Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back. Today's podcast is the listing appointment secret strategy for top agents. So what we're going to do is we're going to be walking you through an overview of our 7-step listing process, but we're going to give you a little bit of advanced coaching. And really some of the advanced coaching we're going to give you is going to really help you focus in on making it so that when you do get the listing appointment and you do go on the appointment, you're going to get it 100% of the time. Now, obviously, for a lot of you, you're going to want to have our notes, and the best place to get our notes, really the only place to get our notes, is go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. It is our daily newsletter. That's the only place where we publish all of our notes. And obviously, all of our notes are published every single day for every single show, and that's where you're going to get our long-form notes. Oftentimes, we only get through half of our notes on the podcast, so that's a really great place to start. We give you guys all the notes because a lot of you are wanting to, become more comfortable and confident with, Julie and I. Some of you, especially this time of year, are discovering us for the first time. Well, welcome. You're listening to the #1 daily downloaded podcast for real estate agents in possibly the world, but at least the United States. So yes, get the notes. And remember, when you opt in at harrisrealestatedaily.com, then you need to go to your email and you need to confirm that you want the subscription. And again, it doesn't cost you anything. That is your next step. That is your #1 homework assignment from today's podcast. So before we get to our first point, what we're going to be doing, and I want you guys to write these things down, is we're going to tell you what the 7-step listing process is. And then Julie and I are going to be referring to it throughout today's podcast. Julie?
All right, 7-step listing process. The first step is, of course, to generate the lead. Without the lead, there are no more steps. Step number 2, follow up with urgency using lead follow-up scripts. That leads you to step 3, pre-qualify for motivation and time frame. Again, asking specific questions from the script. Then you send the pre-listing package. We talk extensively about that, of course, in Premier Coaching. Step number 5 is confirm the appointment. That's you making sure they got the pre-listing package, etc. Step number 6 is present. It's showtime. We're largely talking about this piece of it today. Present your listing presentation. And then, of course, step number 7, close. Always be closing. Ask for the actual signature.
Now, where Julie and I sometimes differ is what step number 2 is. And step number 2 is really furiously fast lead follow-up. So if you're generating the lead, let's say you're doing proactive lead,
Lead generation.
Thank you. I have a cold and I'm on cold medicine. So if I stall out, that's why. Yes, thank you, Julie. So if you're doing proactive lead generation, and part of our script is you're supposed to be setting the appointment when you made the initial contact. So there might not be lead follow-up necessary. So we add lead follow-up in, but I don't want you to make the mistake of assuming that you're only supposed to, break the ice on the first contact. You're supposed to do your best to actually not just set the appointment, but move to the third step, which is pre-qualifying them on your initial contact. So again, really important that you understand the point of making the proactive lead, doing the proactive lead generation or even the passive lead generation is not to create a lead. It's to set a pre-qualified listing appointment. Julie?
That's exactly right. I agree with you on that. And when we talk about this, it's things like you got a referral, don't sit on the referral. This is the type of lead follow-up where maybe it wasn't on initial contact.
Well, you understand, because I'm fearful that these guys are going to be listening and they're going to say, well, I'm supposed to make my contacts, so I made some contacts. And even though that person may have been really motivated, I'm following Tim and Julie's 7-step process.
Right.
And then they don't, on that same call, go to set the appointment and pre-qualify.
Yeah, I've always thought that we should abolish the phrase out of the industry lead follow-up, because that sounds just like you're getting through it. To your point, you're just making your contacts. No, it should be called appointment setting.
That's it. At the end of the day. I mean, guys, Julie and I, it sounds like we're just bantering right now, but it really is a critical mistake that if you guys sort of conceptualize and you stop doing this, it'll change your life. When you're having a conversation with somebody, especially when it's for the sake of setting either a buyer or a seller appointment, your job is not to create a follow-up campaign or not to put them in a drip campaign or whatever. That is a huge mistake, and it's a rookie, crappy terrible mistake. Your job is when you're on that call and do your best to make it on the first contact with them is to pre-qualify them. And we give you the pre-qualification scripts and the whole process inside of Premier Coaching. But if you why would you want to be more urgent than maybe all of you are being? It's because if you're not and you're competing for that same lead or that same buyer or that same seller with an agent who is more urgent, who is going to pre-qualify in that first appointment, is going to set the listing appointment, let's say, on that first contact, you're going to lose. You won't even get an opportunity because you're too busy dripping on them. And that's the disadvantage that some of you who have decided or been led to believe or sold into believing that you're supposed to be more passive with your lead follow-up. You're supposed to be more passive with your marketing. Passive is going to make it so you lose. And that's probably one of the reasons why 71% of all agents sold 0 houses last year. 71% of all members of National Association of Realtors sold 0 houses last year. It's because for the last really 15 years, there's been so much bad coaching and training out there that's led everyone to make these real basic mistakes. So I'm going to say it for the third time, and it's so critically important you understand. When you are talking with someone who's interested in buying or selling real estate, use our pre-qualification scripts, as fast as you can to set the appointment, find out their level of motivation. Don't just get them on the phone or whatever for the sake of getting their email and their contact so you can drip on them. That's lazy.
Well, that's turning them into a contact, not turning them into an appointment. There is a difference.
You mean it's turning them into a contact, not a lead?
Yeah, that's right. Not a lead.
A contact is just somebody in your CRM. That's a contact. That's a contact in the sense that it's just a rando name. And yes, you might have some more information on it, but you don't know anything about their motivation. A lead is someone where you've actually fully pre-qualified them. If it's a seller, you know what their time frame is. All the things, all the questions that we give you in the seller pre-qualification script in Premier Coaching. So please be if that's all you take from today's podcast, my little mini rant that I just gave you guys, please remember it.
Well, it's an important mini rant because it leads us to this section of the 7-step listing process, which ties into your listing presentation, your belief and your commitment to success in real estate. And today we're talking specifically about the listing appointment, can be the deciding factor in all you do, your belief and your commitment. When you go to a listing appointment, how committed are you? Are you just seeing how it goes? Are you counting on your personality mostly? Sometimes that works, but not all the time. Are you taking the business for granted because they're a friend? Or are you 100% committed to making this your next listing and helping the seller or sellers that you're meeting with accomplish their moving goal?
Can I go back and finish my mini rant?
Sure.
All right. I'll get back on your notes, okay?
Okay.
All right. So again, I really want to be clear about this because I've seen so many agents needlessly suffer from making this mistake. You guys get into the business, you're told your job, the value of your business, your goal is your CRM. And so your job is to build the biggest CRM and with as many people in that CRM as possible and drip on them, and eventually a certain percent will rise to the top, want to do business with you. Guys, sound familiar? All right. So who decided that was the way you were supposed to build a business? I know, the people selling you CRMs. How about that? Now, if that's your goal, is to have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people in your CRM, why don't you just go buy a list from like Lists USA? Seriously.
Or you could go to whitepages.com.
Yeah, exactly. Go to whitepages.com, get the full contact information from everybody in your community, and drop them in your CRM and just start spamming them. I mean, in essence, that's what you're doing anyway. That's what these CRM companies are supposed. Like, the more you have, the less you have. The more people you have in your CRM, there's almost a direct correlation to the less money you make because those people are less attached to you. The quality of the people in the CRM that you're just dripping on, they have no attachment to you. They don't know you. They don't have a relationship with you. So the best agents in the nation know what I'm about to say is true. These are the ones making the most money. They have the fewest number of leads. Remember, a contact are the people you're dropping in your CRMs. A lead are the people that you've actually pre-qualified. To make $1 million a year in many markets, you need probably no more than 10, maybe 15 leads, with, say, a majority of them being listing leads at all times. And I will say if your market is $1 million plus, you probably only need 5 or 6 really good leads at all times, and you're going to make over $1 million easily. But the challenge all of you guys have is the mindset that you've been trained to create contacts and put them in a CRM. Julie and I coach you guys to create leads that are actually going to transact, which means you're going to have more drilled down conversations, which means you're not going to be able to be passively and doing all this drip Mickey Mouse. You're actually going to have a conversation where you're asking them questions, where they're telling you what their motivations are, and then you're setting a pre-qualified appointment with either that buyer or the seller. That's your job. That's how you make money.
Well, but hang on, Tim. Maybe I'm going to find out they're not a lead after all. I mean, if I'm talking to them.
Well, okay. 2 reasons why agents won't do this. Why they don't. Number 2, 3. Number 1, they've never heard anyone other than you and I say this. Number 2, they don't have a pre-qualification script, so they don't know what to say.
Right.
Okay.
Both
of those things are fair enough. And number 3, they are afraid of rejection.
Yes.
And they're afraid of losing the lead. They're afraid
perceived conflict.
Exactly. That's it. Those are the 3 things. But if you go and you eavesdrop on the agent who you know in your marketplace who's making the most amount of money, what you're going to hear is not a lot of dippity-doo conversations. They're going right to a pre-qualification conversation every single time they come across the lead. Guaranteed. Now, what they'll do is you'll hear them saying an internalized conversation, an internalized script, where it's basically they're operating at a level of competence, and you're going to hear them do it conversationally. That's what we teach you guys in our Premier Coaching Program. We do give you a pre-qualification script, but what we want you to do is, first of all, memorize it, internalize it, and then personalize it. In other words, we want you to make it your own. A script that isn't your own is never something you're going to be comfortable using. So hopefully this is motivating you guys to realize that being successful in real estate is a hell of a lot easier than you think. It certainly requires fewer steps, but it does require each step to be more deliberate.
Very well said, especially on cold medicine. Okay.
Yes.
So let's take them to their pre-listing routine. Now, let's say that you're a Premier Coaching client, or you're one of my elite or Tim's elite one-on-one coaching clients, and you know how to generate leads. You most of the time set an appointment right when you're on the phone generating that lead, talking to the person. You use the pre-qualification scripts, and you've sent your pre-listing package. Okay, so now you are ready to rumble. It's showtime. It's time to go to the listing appointment. And most importantly, it's time to actually take that listing and make it yours so that you can help them. So taking that listing requires preparedness, skill, and the property mindset. Your pre-listing mindset is of utmost importance. You need to have your own pre-listing creed or prayer. We're going to talk about that in a second. That's going to serve you well as part of your pre-listing routine. Remember, at the top of the podcast, we said, do you take your listing presentation seriously, or you just kind of see how it goes? And
Julie, you got this. Let's move on to the next point. But again, guys, remember, you can get our notes at harrisrealestatedaily.com. But it's funny, if you guys have ever met Julie before, she's 110 pounds dripping wet, and she's about to share with you a story from the U.S. Marine Corps.
Well, I get content from lots of places. Okay, so the power of a creed, right? A lesson from the U.S. Marines. This is a quick story that'll demonstrate our point. In a boot camp at Paris Island or San Diego and the basic school of Quantico, no one escapes from what is called the Rifleman's Creed. Every Marine is trained first and foremost as a rifleman, for it is the rifleman who must close in on and destroy the enemy. The rifleman remains the most basic tenet of the Marine Corps doctrine. All else revolves around him or her. Marine aviation, marine armor, marine artillery, and all supporting arms and warfighting assets exist to support the rifleman. It's believed that General William Rupertus, USMC, authored the creed shortly after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. It's commonly known as the Rifleman's Creed, but it's also been called My Rifle, the Creed of a United States Marine. We've seen this in several movies, by the way. I'm sure
definitely.
that you remember that. Every Marine has to memorize it and live by the creed.
Uh-oh.
It's not optional.
You going to read it?
I am. It's not very long.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, the Rifleman's Creed. And again, it is part of the newsletter. You can get that.
HarrisRealestateDaily.com. Make sure you guys subscribe.
Okay, this is my rifle. There are many like it, but this one is mine. It is my life. I must master it as I master my life. Without me, my rifle is useless. Without my rifle, I am useless. I must fire my rifle true. I must shoot straighter than the enemy who is trying to kill me. I must shoot him before he shoots me. I will. My rifle and I know that what counts in war is not the rounds we fire, the noise of our burst, or the smoke we make. We know that it is the hits that count, and we will hit. My rifle is human, even as I am human, because it is my life. Thus, I will learn it as a brother. I will learn its weaknesses, its strengths, its parts, its accessories, its sights, and its barrel. I will keep my rifle clean and ready, even as I am clean and ready. We will become part of each other. Before God, I swear this creed, my rifle and I are the defenders of our country. We are the masters of our enemy. We are the saviors of my life. So be it until victory is America's.
All right, so in this next section, you might want to omit that right there because that sometimes triggers people. But the moral of this, moving on though, hopefully what you're realizing is when you're going on a listing appointment, one of the things that you're going to do, even after you follow our 7-step listing process, is we want you to go through a real drilled down mindset process, and that's what Julie's about to give you. So I'm going to set this up for you, okay? You've got your listing appointment. You've pre-qualified the listing appointment. This is a ready-to-go seller. This seller is a fantastic person to deal with, an amazing sale price. They're going to move up. They're going to, let's say they're selling something at $800,000. They want to buy something for up to $3 million. Just really, really great, unbelievably perfect business. They have lots of, friends, all the things, right?
And they're motivated.
They're motivated, right? And they want to be sold. They want to have their house sold in the next 90 days. They want to have the kids back in school, whatever. They got a real definitive, tight deadline. So these aren't just going to be looky-loos. They're willing to put their house for sale, or they're willing to buy without the sale. Okay, so they're not going to wait to find something before they put their house for sale. They're even willing to sell without having something to buy because you guys get it? So this is the business that could set you up for the next year because all the other business you can get from this one relationship.
And you know this because
you pre-qualified them.
That's right. Exactly. Okay, so.
Exactly. And by the way, you have they've already committed to working with you because you sent your pre-listing pack. And they've already decided they're going to work with you because you have followed all of our 7-step listing process. So this is your business, but the pre-listing pack has been sent. You now have to go to the listing appointment. This last little bit is where you get the contract signed. So this is going to be where the rubber is going to meet the road.
And it's also the exact kind of listing and in your demonstration listing and buyer side that you will be really, really upset if you don't take.
Yeah. And you are competing, or at least when you pre-qualified, they said you were competing, but you did follow our coaching, and you have set yourself up so you're the last one to go on the appointment. But you still have to get the paperwork signed, right? They haven't just given it to you. So there is a chance that you could do something dumb and not get the listing.
Yeah, I always coach. I don't care who you are, how advanced you are, if you're new or if you know them. I don't care what the situation is. You should always assume that you're competing. And I need you to get back in here.
Yeah, I will. Don't worry. I got it.
Okay, so yes, always assume that you are competing. Sometimes what you're really competing against is the seller themselves maybe wanting to wait. And you don't want it to be a situation where, they make that decision.
So again, you're sitting in the car. You're fully caffeinated. You've shown up a little bit early. You're not parked in their driveway. You followed all of our coaching and training with regards to taking listing appointments. And now what we want you to do is we want you to consider reading this creed to yourself so you get your mindset in the right place.
All right, part of your pre-listing appointment. All right, here it goes. This is my listing presentation. It is a testament to my dedication, professionalism, and commitment to serving this homeowner at the highest level. I am fully prepared. Today I will ask insightful questions, actively listen, and demonstrate my deep expertise. I will prove beyond doubt that I am the best choice for this important task of getting their home sold. This homeowner will trust and respect me because I approach them with confidence, integrity, and a genuine desire to help them succeed. I am honored to be at this appointment and will deliver unparalleled value. I am ready to exceed my clients' expectations, guiding them with clarity and assurance. My presence is powerful, my skills are sharp, and my service is unmatched. I will not leave without securing their trust and their commitment. This is my next listing.
How about that? So I'll tell you, I'm sure you've had this too, Julie, coaching clients that would print that off, laminate it,
yes,
leave it in their, in their sun visor.
Yep.
But I've also had some that have shown that to the sellers.
That's a great idea.
It is a great idea, right? To show the seller. Again,
sure,
guys,
it's respect.
We started out by explaining to you the importance of never taking any business for granted. You either listen to what we're saying or you find out what we're saying is true when you lose because you took the business for granted. In a changing market where the sellers are not confident, where they're feeling a little insecure, where there's price reductions, where they see the days in the market that's starting to, protract in some markets, where they're just feeling uncertain, they're going to make you compete even if they sit next to you at church.
That's just true.
They're going to make you compete even if they're your mom, okay? I'm just telling you.
Sometimes especially.
And they're not always going to tell you.
Yeah.
And you're going to find out the hard way when you lose because you did not take every single appointment you didn't take it seriously. You didn't follow our 7-step listing process. You didn't send a pre-listing pack. You didn't pre-qualify. You didn't show up on time. You didn't look professional. You took the business for granted. Now, in normal times where the seller knows the house, well, I would say abnormal times, honestly, where the seller knows the house is going to sell itself, no matter who lists it, sorry, but true, where the seller can overprice it and they know the house is still going to sell, maybe even for over asking price, sorry, but true, okay? You don't have to necessarily be as professional as you do now. In a time of transition, which we're in now, that's where you have to be the most professional because the sellers and the buyers, for that matter, are the most nervous. And they're always going to pick the agent who they perceive to be the most professional. And that's not always the agent that's the most well-established in the marketplace. And something else for you guys to consider. Some of the most established agents in the marketplace are the ones that lose the fastest in a transitioning market because they're the ones that take the business for granted in the worst ways. Arrogant, basically. Lazy. Yeah. Or they've forgotten. Maybe they never learned in the first. Maybe they've risen to the top in their particular market because they've ridden the wave that started in COVID. Who knows? And they've never learned sales skills. They never learned how to have a pre-listing pack or pre-qualify.
They might have just gotten sloppy that day.
Exactly. That's a transitioning market like this is what creates the massive amount of opportunity that makes Julie and I so excited. That's when Julie and I got into the real estate business. But not just that. That's when Julie and I, we harken back to these experiences we had a long time ago where we went from a normal sale price market to a luxury sale price market, always during times of transition, exactly like we're experiencing now. And since then, are literally hundreds of thousands of coaching clients. Whenever I hear them say the market is going through some kind of change, which is, by the way, pretty much all the damn time, or they'll say like, I always wanted to move up market or I wanted to move to a more expensive price range. Do that during times like this.
Yes.
For all the reasons we've been stating, but you've got to go into those markets with a mindset of service. Definitely take your creed with you that Julie just read to you and be professional because most other agents don't know what that even means. You'll ask them questions about like, what are you trying? I'm trying to provide great customer service. Or they'll say all these sort of syrupy things. But you got to ask yourself, what does the seller really want? What does the seller really want? Not what you want. What does the seller want? A seller wants to sell the house in the least amount of time. This, translate this to the buyer side as well with the least amount of hassle, right? And, maybe commission matters, but that's it. Least amount of hassle, shortest period of time. That's what matters to most sellers. And you could say the largest net proceeds, but that's never the number one thing they're focused on. So if you can show them that you can deliver that value to them, and again, especially in a transitioning market like this, and you can use our pre-listing pack. Our pre-listing pack, guys, is the silent salesperson that's going to get you the listing appointment. And by the way, with the new ethical real estate professional designation, we not only have a pre-listing pack for sellers, but we've got a pre-listing pack. It's called a pre-appointment pack for buyers. So I'm going to set this up. We normally talk about sellers. Let's talk about buyers. Okay, Julie?
Yep.
Because this applies to everything we're talking about.
Absolutely.
So you've got a buyer appointment. It's a reload buyer appointment with no referral fee.
Woohoo!
You're not paying Zillow 40%.
Yay.
Okay. This is a CEO of some company. I had this happen, right? It's a CEO of some company. He wants to buy some multi-million-dollar house. He's bringing in a whole bunch of other executives, and all of them are going to be buying something similar, but not quite as expensive. You guys get the idea. And so this one relationship with this one, buyer is going to result in hundreds of thousands, if not like $1 million in commission to you over time. That's exciting. Oh, and by the way, they're only going to be there for 5 years. And in my case, it was only there for 3 years. And then they're going to go, the same crew was going to go to another division inside this big company. It's called GE, by the way. You guys have heard of it. Yeah. And open up a new division. That's
what means to you, because they don't always all think this way. Future listings is
right, exactly. Future listings. And then you get those, and then maybe, you guys get the point. This is millions and millions of dollars over time. So you go on the CEO is not just going to hire you because you have a golden retriever and he has a golden retriever, because you play tennis and his wife plays tennis. You guys get the point? You're going to have to earn that damn business. And so many of you, especially working with buyers, have just been getting your relationships socially or from paying for the buyer leads. Well, we want you to seriously consider the fact that those days are over, because they are. And so what we created for you was a pre-appointment package. And you're going to see this with Ethical Real Estate Professional. It's a part of the new Premier Coaching Program. It's a package that you deliver to the seller, and there will be a digital version, but we want you to, as often as possible, use the paper version. I'm sorry, to the buyer. Make sure you're checking me here because I'm on cold medicine. Yep. You're going to deliver this to the buyer prior to the appointment, and it's going to answer all the questions that buyer might have as to why they should consider working exclusively with you. Now, you're thinking to yourself, I've never had a buyer interrogate me, asking me questions. Okay, that might be true, but those have mostly been what? Referrals that you paid 40% referral fees for, or maybe largely they've been just first-time buyers that don't know what questions to ask. Don't just discount that, what I'm saying, based on your previous experience, because these new rules that are in place with regards to agency, but not only that, the expectations that consumers have for agents is going to change everything on how you interact with just a buyer. So I'm going to go back to the CEO example. He's, of course, talking with other agents. Of course, he's, looking on Zillow and Realtor.com. Of course, he's, exchanging emails and whatever. But I'm going to deliver to him this package, and I'm going to explain to him the advantages of working exclusively with us. And if nobody else delivers a similar package, which they won't unless they're ethical real estate professional agents, you are going to stand above the fray of other agents, if for no other reason than you took his relationship with you more seriously, evident by the fact that you prepared this information for him. Those tiny little things make the difference between winning and losing in a market like this.
Absolutely. I mean, think about the professionalism of that. And I think we will all agree, anybody that's been licensed more than 2 seconds, is that level of professionalism is what has been needed for years, for decades. It's just now it's required and you're having to deal with it. Compare it to, maybe you have a sore throat today. Anybody we know in the room? Where I cough, okay? And you want to get that fixed because you're tired of coughing. You want to get well. You feel like you might be getting worse. And you have 2 doctors that you're going to go to. One of them asked you a whole bunch of questions about your symptoms. How long have you been sick? What else is hurting? Do you have a headache? Do you have an earache? They go through a series of questions. Oh, and they also ask you about your insurance. They ask you, time frame questions. And then they set an appointment and you go through it all again. And they're super professional, right? You even have to fill out a questionnaire. You have to answer all these questions. The other doctor's like, well, I mean, it sounds like you might have a cold. Why don't you come on over? Well,
even worse than that, right? Oh, I was on your Instagram page and I saw you had a dog. I have a dog, right?
I'll be over. Can you make me well?
It just when you guys hear Julie and I talk, even when I'm on cold medicine, doesn't it just sound so obvious that what we're telling you is true? I mean, honestly, because it's practical and tactical. There's no BS in what we're telling you. It's obvious that you want to be perceived as a true professional. More Instagram followers doesn't do it, does it? More TikTok followers, that's not even around anymore. So the real way you differentiate yourself in the marketplace is by truly taking a professional approach. And this industry, for the most part, doesn't even really acknowledge that that's necessary. For a long time, and thank God it's changing, there has been almost an overt attempt to remove meritocracy from the real estate industry. And I know that's strange, but it's true. Look how infrequently you hear the word competition being used by any other coaches and trainers other than Julie and I. Why is that? There is only one winner. There is only one loser. One winner, and there's lots of losers, right? So why is it the word competition isn't something that people are comfortable talking about? You must be comfortable talking about it if you want to win. Because if you don't realize that every single time you talk with somebody, you are in competition for their business. Every single time you talk with someone at the gym, even if it's not necessarily about real estate, you are in competition for that relationship, which may eventually lead to business. Whatever comes out of your mouth, like we did a podcast yesterday, that was all about essentially all the facts that are happening in the marketplace, because we want you to not sound like an idiot and not just parrot the lines that you're hearing that are mostly, the real estate headlines that you're hearing from a lot
fictitious
of these.
Headlines.
Yeah, they're garbage. I mean, a lot of them are just so incorrect, it's not even funny. And they're politically motivated, which is just bizarre. But the moral of the story is, if you really want to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, it's not that hard to do it. And you don't need to have 1 billion people following you on social either. It's about knowing what to say, how to say it, having a professional approach. So what I'm telling you is the truth. It's resonating with you. I know it is. You're feeling the fact that you can be successful in real estate And it's not as hard as you might have been led to believe. And guess what? It's not. It's about having conversations where where you're going to pre-qualify folks, where you're going to set appointments with them. Then you send the pre-listing pack or the buyer appointment package. Then you present, you get the commitments, the contract signed, the paperwork out of the way, and then you're off to the races. But you're not, you're getting paperwork signed with people who what their motivation is. You don't win this game with 1 million leads or 1 million contacts. You win this with closed transactions that produce a lot of profit. So that's what Premier Coaching is all about. Premier Coaching is this mindset. Premier Coaching is the practical, tactical approach to running a small business, which is what all you guys do. You're not trying to become real estate influencers. And if you are, this Premier Coaching is definitely not for you. You want to be somebody who, your success is not predicated on the amount of people that follow you on social. Charlie Munger, who was Warren Buffett's partner before he passed away, he said, don't try to make yourself famous. Try to make the result you get for other people famous. In other words, you become famous and you will become an influencer in your marketplace, not because you say you are or because you Kardashianed your way through Instagram. It's going to be because you helped other people accomplish their goals. And the more people you help accomplish their goals, the more of your own goals that you will be accomplishing. That is the formula. And it's always been that way, and it always will be that way. Now, if you want to use social and all the rest of it to enhance your proactive lead generation and doing the real work of real estate like what I'm describing, then go for it. But it's not necessary, which is something I know a lot of you guys are going to have a hard time believing, but it's true.
Yes, that's right. I would say that Premier Coaching is the simplification and systematization and professionalizing your business. And everything, between all of the stories and the rants and the examples, what I think you're really demonstrating is that many agents overcomplicate it. You overcomplicate it by having far too many contacts, which aren't really leads. The bad leads cover up the good leads. You overcomplicate it by having different scenarios for different people. If it's a past client, I assume I have the business. If it's a cold lead, I don't.
First of all, it's about to fall off your shirt. Number two, I'm going to say this. I don't think that the overcomplication that is endemic to most agents' businesses is primarily their fault.
No, I would agree with that. It's not their fault.
I don't think it's their fault.
No.
Because if they've been only in the business for the last 16 years, really, since 2007, 2008, they've been completely bombarded with all of these passive lead generation, marketing, branding,
it's been normalized.
CRMing. It's been normalized.
Yeah.
And the real problem is the people that are in leadership positions have also come up during those times.
Right.
And so they don't know anything that's different than
That's
that.
right.
And so you guys have been, and so who's co-opted the industry in our opinion? This isn't a conspiracy theory. This should just be very obvious to you. The technology companies have. So if the technology companies are the ones that are underwriting your big real estate brokers, big annual, gala or event, and guess what? They're CRM companies and they're paid buyer lead generation companies and they're branding and they're marketing companies and all the rest of it. Well, of course, that brokerage is going to be a proponent of all the things that they're selling. Otherwise, they're not going to get the money to pay for the booze,
Right. But that doesn't put any money in your pocket.
No, it doesn't. So again, the real work of real estate is always done belly to belly, voice to voice. That's the real work of real estate. And if you just allow yourself the gift of demystifying, really what it takes to be successful, you already know the answer. It's obvious. Look at Julie and I talk about this a lot, but it's so fascinating. At the end of the day, I'm going to tell the roofer story, okay? Mm-hmm. All right. This is the cold medicine at this point, so cut me off if I get too rambly. All right. So if you had to hire a roofer today, do you remember the numbers?
I think so. Within a couple digits, I do.
Okay. Yeah. If you had to hire a roofer today, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, who do I know that I've used in the past that I want to use again as a roofer? The second thing you're going to do, if you don't know a roofer or you don't have someone in your, let's say, Rolodex, your phone that you're going to use, then you're going to ask a trusted friend or advisor. And then if you don't know someone or if your trusted friends or advisors don't know someone, then you're going to respond to an ad. Okay?
Which is a micro percentage of the time.
And that's the thing. Nobody tells you the truth about that. And so, Julie, you remember the percent that are taken out that basically use the same person they used before? The number
it's
is
about 83%.
Okay, and that
and then there's another 11% trusted friend or advisor, and it leaves you with roughly 5 or 6% that will even consider responding to an ad, whether that's online or in your mailbox or anywhere else.
Now, the big companies that are in the business of selling you guys things don't make money off what I just told you, so they're not going to tell you that. They're going to tell you to build big CRMs, do marketing and branding, spend a bunch of money on websites and whatever. But when you actually, now other businesses don't work like that. If you're selling Ginsu knives, or if you're selling bedding, or if you're selling supplements, or if you're selling car tires, yes, a more traditional marketing and advertising thing's going to work. But the problem ultimately with advertising is it does work, but you don't know what's working. Ultimately, it's almost impossible to know. It's like, what's the old story, Julie? It 100% works, but you don't know which 50% of it's working, or whatever the old story is. Yeah. Well, branding and social media is even worse. So what we're trying to help you to understand is being successful in real estate, unlike other businesses, it's easier than you think if you're willing to actually drill down to actually having meaningful conversations with folks about buying or selling real estate that leads to pre-qualifying, setting a listing appointment, sending a pre-listing or a pre-buyer package. That's the process. That's all you have to get good at. You can suck at every other thing in real estate as long as you're good at those things. Most of our best coaching clients are terrible at everything other than generating the lead, obviously pre-qualifying
and presenting.
Those are the things. Well, they'll obviously send the pre-listing or the pre-buyer appointment, package as well.
Yeah, but they're not like in love with transaction coordination or inspections or appraisals or any of that.
Okay, full confession.
Yeah. You're terrible at it.
This is the cold medicine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only was I terrible at it, but Julie and I, for almost 10 years, closed between 100 and 200 houses. In my entire real estate career, in those thousands of transactions, I never closed one deal.
Except for our own, yeah.
Except for our own. Well, I never actually did it.
We never went to a closing is what you meant
I went to closings. Yeah. But I never actually did the closing process.
Oh, right, the TC work. Yeah.
I never did the TC work. Not a single time. And we had transaction coordinators.
I would even say you made yourself willfully ignorant of it.
I did.
Because you knew that it was not your jam. That's fine.
I wanted to be.
Doesn't have to be.
I wanted to be focused on going after listings.
Exactly, and that is your jam, and that is the best use of that's the highest part of the funnel, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I think. What got us talking on this is simplifying the business. It does not have to be. So you guys sometimes will say, I feel out of control all the time. It doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be confusing. You don't have to feel like you're wandering around in the real estate wilds wondering where in the heck your next deal is going to come from or how much it's going to cost you. It doesn't have to be that way.
Write down a list of the things that you guys, to Julie's point there, write down a list of all the things that are on your mind that you think are really important that you do in your real estate business. Write that list down. Do it right now. Okay? Maybe you're on the treadmill. Don't start writing while you're on the treadmill or you're driving. Maybe just think of the top 5 things. And I bet you not one of those damn things has anything to do with proactive lead generation or pre-qualifying. I bet none of them, right? Oh, I got to do this drip campaign. I got to make this video, or I got to work on my brand, or I got to right? None of it has to do with actually having a conversation with an actual person who actually wants to buy or sell real estate with you right now. You guys do know, hopefully by now, that the most motivated seller leads are free, right? You do know that, right? It's not from a drip campaign. It's not from postcards. It's not from a Facebook campaign or a survey. You do know that the most motivated sellers in your marketplace, and there are thousands of them who have their hands in the air right now saying, yes, I want to sell my house. Those leads cost you nothing. Are you listening? And yet you're paying 40% to Zillow for a buyer lead. What the hell?
On top of your monthly fee.
On top of your monthly fee if you're a Zillow Flex agent. Right? I want you to open your mind to the realization that you guys are in the right place at the right time. And you are smart enough at one point to get a real estate license. Now you need to, screw that thinking hat back on, and you need to realize that you're probably making the business too damn hard. It does come down to conversations. It does come down to conversations that are essentially pre-qualifying conversations and setting appointments and taking a professional approach from there. That's what we teach you to do in Premier Coaching. Please, guys. Don't be one of the 71% that fail. That breaks our hearts. It's so unnecessary. Tune out of the things that are trying to make it so, I got to do this CRM. I got to do this drip campaign. I got to do all this. No. What is it that's on your list of things that you think are supposed to do that's going to put you in a position to have a conversation today with ideally a seller about listing their home today? Who can you call right now? Who can you message right now about listing their house today? Do you have one person, 2 people, 10 people, 20 people, or no people? If you have no people, it's because the things that you've been focusing on that you thought were important on your list were not important. Otherwise, you'd be right now, especially this time of year, chasing some primo listing leads.
That's called tough love from your coaches.
It's called tough love and strong cold medicine.
Yes, but we can help you with that. You know that we can.
Yes.
We can make your lives easier.
So guys, thank you for keeping this number one listened to daily podcast for real estate professionals in at least the United States. If you do want to message Julie and I, obviously the best place to do that is over on Instagram. That's Tim and Julie Harris, and do like and follow while you're over there. And your homework, like it is off every podcast that we do, every YouTube video we do, everything we do, is make sure you're joining Premier Coaching. It is your fast forward button for all the things that you want in real estate. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk with you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.